Welcome back to another episode of the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. Today, we're talking mostly NBA. The semis recap this weekend. The NBA, Western and Eastern conference semifinal games. Recap those. Also, going to talk about, we're going to preview the division games. Who's playing for the East and the West. Talk about those matchups. Then we're going to go to Denver, talking about, what's the future for the Denver Nuggets. There's a lot to work on. Talk about that. After that, we're going to Scotty Scheffler. We're going to golf. We're changing it up. We're going to go to golf and then end with Brock Purdy talking and his big contract extension with the Niners. Talking about the future of the Niners as well. So before we get into any of that, however, tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated. If you wish to show your support for our channel, please feel free to tip or donate. It really means the world. And if you wish to do so and you happen to be in the live stream, feel free to use it. Feel free to utilize that by using the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the two links in the bio or in the description. Even if you don't wish to tip or donate, you still want to show your support, however, feel free to leave a comment in the YouTube comment section, live stream comment section. Live stream is the best. I'll see that one right away. So, I can get to that. I can get to that as soon as possible. But like I said, if you wish to tip or donate and you happen to be in the live stream, feel free to do that by utilizing the super chat or the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the two links in the bio and in the description. With that being said, let's get into the topic number one for the day, which is what I said was the NBA and the conference semifinals recap. So, conference semis have finally finished up. And now the Western and the Eastern Conference semifinals are set. Or finals are set. A little tired. So, the first series we had we'll briefly just talk about, the series in general. We had Minnesota, and, they went on to the Western Conference finals, and they're playing, Oklahoma City Thunder. And you had New York beating the Boston Celtics. And, excuse me, I'm just, burping a lot today. I'm not sure why. And then you have in the Eastern Conference, the Pacers beating the Bucks. And, the Cavaliers. So for the Eastern Conference first. So, the Pacers are just, the Pacers so far this playoffs have just been absolutely phenomenal. And they have every right to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. They really do. They have proven everybody wrong by making it as far as I had. A lot of people, including myself, I'm going to say, I was pretty low on the Pacers. I had them being first-round bounces. I thought they were first-round exits. I really did. And they have really just turned the table and, kind of proved to everybody that, they're the team to beat. They've made it to back-to-back, Eastern Conference Finals now. Last year, they got swept by Boston. This year, I can absolutely see them coming out of the East. I absolutely can. They are that good of a team. Yeah, the Knicks. Sorry, I'm not sure why I'm going all of a sudden. The Knicks are, a great team. Do not get me wrong. They've also made it to the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason. But the Pacers are just that good of a team. They really are. They are just a phenomenal team with a lot of talent. They are just that good of a team. The Pacers are just so well-versed, and they have a lot of depth. They obviously, they got some great starting five players. Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton. They have a lot of good overall players. And their bench runs deep as well. They have a lot of guys who are able to come off the bench and just play good basketball. And that's why they were able to, they beat the Pacers. Mainly, obviously, they played a great series. But, the Cavs also had some injury problems. Mobley and Garland were out for 3 games. Mitchell was doing everything he could, but, he just couldn't get it done. So, the Pacers have really proved themselves to be a legitimate contender in the East. And with them facing against the New York Knicks, who just beat Boston in 6, phenomenal. The Knicks played a great series against Boston. They really did. They outplayed, Boston outplayed them in games 1 and 2, but, those 20-point leads, they're not going to always stick. And New York, they had momentum. They came back from both those two, when they were down 20 points in both those games. They came back, took the lead, 2-0, going back to New York. They lost one, won one, 3-1. Then you had, Tatum tear his Achilles. New York came back, Boston came back, won a game. Got the little get back, I guess you could say, for Tatum. And then Knicks in Game 6 dominated. They beat them by like 40 points, absolute domination, to make it out of the Eastern Conference semis and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, that's going to be a great series. It really will be. I think, I really think that's going to be a good series. I really do. That series is so, it's a lot of stars. Halliburton versus Brunson. That's a great matchup to see. Two really, really well-renowned point guards. Even though Halliburton was voted the most, overrated player by, players in the NBA, he doesn't care. He really doesn't. He's coming to prove that he's the guy to beat. He's just that good of a player, and he's looking to make it to the finals, get out of the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a while. And just the Pacers in general, they haven't made it to the NBA Finals in a long time. It's been a while, and it's kind of nice too though. Every team currently in the playoffs still alive, they haven't. It's gonna be a breath of fresh air. Three of those teams. Pacers and the two teams in the West, which is OKC and why am I blanking? It's just bad that I'm blanking. But none of these teams. Oh, the Timberwolves. Sorry, Timberwolves and OKC. None of these teams have ever won an NBA championship, and the Knicks haven't won one since '73. So it's just brand new scene. It's literally just a brand new scene. I love it. And going back to the Eastern Conference, seeing the Pacers it's gonna be a great series to watch. It really will be. Brunson versus Halliburton is gonna be a phenomenal watch, and what more can I say? It's gonna be a great series. And then you have in the West, Timberwolves just beat the Warriors in 5, and OKC just beat Denver in a masterclass in Game 7. That was everyone. I expected the Minnesota Timberwolves to beat the Warriors. I really did. And they did in 5. It was masterclass. But then, I really had Denver coming out against OKC. I really believed that Denver was going to, come out on top in that Game 7, in that series in general. And then the Game 7 rolled around. I was, I was watching it. What? I don't get why I yawn. I yawn a lot, when I go on the air. I think it's because I'm talking so much, who knows. But, I really thought Denver was going to come out and win. I watched the whole game. I was watching the Tigers. I turned off the Tigers to watch this game. And, through the first quarter and a half, there was second quarter with about 6-8 minutes left, whatever. And OKC was just going on a dominant run. They went on a 20-2 run, and the place was loud. It was erupting, and it really was. So OKC had all the momentum, and Denver just couldn't get it back. They really couldn't. They were sitting all their starters by, I believe it was third quarter. I think it was midway through the third quarter, maybe end of third quarter. They were already benching all their starters. It was just bad, That's just poor. Because it's weird because their first Game 7 against LA, the Clippers, they had the brakes were turned off for them. They were going full blow the whole way, beat them by 15, 20 points. And then this Game 7, it was the opposite for them. They just had no momentum. They had momentum for a little bit, and then OKC just came out and dominated. That's all I can say. So that's gonna be a great series as well. OKC versus Minnesota is going to be a phenomenal series. Neither of those teams have ever won an NBA title, Minnesota or OKC. It's gonna be a great watch. It really will be. Plus, two young stars, SGA versus Ant. Both those teams are also so evenly matched. That series can also go to 7. It really can. I believe, both these series, East and West, can 100% go to 7 games. But, who knows? NBA is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. And I kind of hope it does go to 7 games. Both of them do, just more basketball to watch for us as the fans. And, seeing all these young stars play against each other, just kind of gives us, the fans, and even just players a breath of fresh air. Not having to worry about vets anymore. Now it's just young stars. It really is. There's not Halliburton, Brunson, Ant-Man, SGA. These guys are all so young and still the Ant-Man's Anthony Edwards is the face of the league. He really is. It could be Wemby, but the way he's playing, he is the face of the league. He is so dominant. He is so good. And there really isn't much more to say about that. He's just that good of a player. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, honestly, they could come out of it. OKC could. I mean, I'll get more into that in the next segment. But, I mean, it's going to be a great series. Both of them are going to be great series. And I'm very excited to watch both these teams match up against each other. I'm really excited. I really am. That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're about to take it with the NBA. I'm gonna talk about both these, division title games, East versus West. I'm gonna talk about who I think will come out on top. But we'll get to all that. We'll get to that after the break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First segment, we talked about NBA. We recapped, the semifinal, East versus West semifinals. Finally, recap that's over. Finally, it's been a while, but we talked about that. Recap those series. This segment number 2, we're talking NBA division titles. We're talking about who I think's. Oh, I thought I spelled titles wrong. I got a little nervous there, but. I'm going to talk about, who I think is going to come out on top in each series. Before we get into that, however, tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated. If you wish to tip or donate and show your support, feel free to do that and you're in the live stream. Feel free to do it by using the super chat or the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream and still want to show your support, feel free to do it by using the tips or doing the 2 links in the bio and in the description. It really means a lot, if you wish to tip or donate, it really does. But like I said, even if you don't wish to tip or donate and you still want to show support, feel free to use the comment section feature, live stream comment section, YouTube comment section. Either way, I love being able to talk to the fans, talk to the people want to come in and talk. But just feel free to do that. It really means a lot when I get to talk sports with you guys because that's my job, talking sports, and I like being able to do it. So feel free to leave a comment section. You can leave a comment wherever you want. But like I said, if you wish to show your support by tipping and donating, and you're in the live stream, feel free to do that by using the super chat or the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the 2 links in the bio and in the description. With that being said, let's get into topic number 2 for the day. With that being the NBA division title games. Like I said last segment, if you were here for it, we now have the division titles set in stone. Eastern Conference, Pacers versus the Knicks. Western Conference, Timberwolves versus the Thunder. And these are both just great series. These, NBA probably doesn't like them because the Pacers are a pretty small market team. And honestly, so are the Timberwolves. You want big market teams if you're like the organization, like Lakers, Celtics, all-time organizations to bring in more money with, big city populations. But you know what? Who cares? The fans are gonna enjoy these series a lot. I really do. I think both of these series can 100% go to Game 7s, and I don't see a 4-0, 4-1 win series in any of these. I think these will all be going to 6 or 7 games. I really do. These are both just such good and even matchups. So first, we'll talk about the East, Pacers versus Knicks. You got obviously Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner. this Pacers team is so like deep. They really are. They have a lot of stars off the bench. They can come and just fill in. Halliburton, like I've said a lot, was voted, the most overrated player in the NBA, and he is not taken lightly to that. He really hasn't. He's really kind of just not. He hasn't accepted that. He really hasn't. He wants to come around and prove how good of a player he really is. And this playoff, he has really proved that. He has been just making a lot of big time shots. That game stealing three he had against Cleveland in game, what is it, 2? Game 3 was absolutely beautiful. Got the rebound off the free throw line, step backs and gets out of the paint, three pointer. But he didn't even need a 3. They could have taken a 2 and tied it, but he wanted to go for the win. I like that. But I mean, this Pacers team is really deep. They are a very deep team with a lot of talent to them. And well, I mean, what more can I say? They are just a very, very deep team. And the Knicks, they aren't as deep, but they have talent. They have a lot of talent. Obviously, their main star, you got, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. 2 all-stars, 2 great players. Karl Anthony Towns coming from Minnesota. This is his first season in New York, the Big Apple. And, they made a good trade. It worked out for both teams. Both the 2 teams involved with the trade, Minnesota and New York, are both currently in their respective regions' finals games. Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle leave New York and go to Minnesota in return for Karl Anthony Towns. And that was honestly a great trade. It worked out perfect for both teams. Cat has played so good for New York this season. He's a huge asset to them. And, Minnesota got some 2 great weapons players playing great for them all season. It would have been kind of cool, though, to see the Villanova boys play together. Brunson, Hart, Bridges, and DiVincenzo. That would have been a cool rotation to see. But, can't win them all. It's not all going to work out perfectly. It really isn't. But, I just can't stop yawning today, I guess. I don't know. I just can't stop yawning. But, it's going to be, I mean, like I said, I got Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. You got some great players on that team as well. Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. Interesting guy. Great defender. If you're going to free throws, you're following him. You are following Mitchell Robinson if you're going to the free throw line. You really are. He's improved. His free throw has definitely improved, but it was shaky for a little while there. By a little while, I mean poor. It was bad. His free throw just wasn't good. He's working on it, but you gotta feel for the guy in some of those times. Some of those shots those free throws were just oof. But this Knicks team, isn't deep. I wouldn't say as deep as the Pacers, but they have, they've been playing like their coach Thibodeau has been playing them. Coach Tom, whatever you want to call him, has been running them a lot this season. Their starters are averaging like 44, 46 minutes of playing time, and that's gonna wear a guy down. But for these guys who've been on the Knicks for a while now, past 2 seasons, they're used to the workload, and their bodies are, finally adjusting to, these deep, how long they're out there for. They really are. And their bodies have finally adjusted, and they're able to, just work. They're able to be out there longer with shorter breaks and just work. And it's good because, even when they're on the bench, they're bench players, aren't the greatest players in the world. Obviously, it's bench players aren't always going to be phenomenal, but the Knicks their bench players aren't, the top tier caliber bench players. But they can keep a lead, but it's still if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm a little stressed out when I see Brunson and Bridges, maybe Cat come off the court for a little while to rest. It's a little scary to see. With that, that's your key players right there. But and that's, the Knicks have proved a lot of people wrong this year. I would say I'm a Pistons fan, so I had the Knicks losing first round, but then they beat us. I was like Boston in 4 or 5. Still, the Knicks 1-6. So, they've proved a lot of people wrong this year, but I do believe Pacers will win this series in probably 6 or 7 games. They're just a great team. They really are, and they have a lot of good matchups. There are a lot of even matchups in this series as well. So I am excited to see how this turns out, but I do believe that I think that Indiana will win this series in 6 or 7 games. And now let's flip the switch, run it back, go to the West. OKC versus Minnesota. This is the series that I'll be watching the most intently. I'll be watching both series closely, but this is going to be the better series to watch, in my opinion. I think it will be the better overall series to watch. Ant-Man versus SGA. I mean, that's the main focus. Ant-Man versus SGA. Two of the youngest stars in the NBA. Two of the best players in the NBA. I mean, I'm not saying they are the two best, but two of the best players. I mean, obviously, SGA probably just asserted himself, his first ever MVP with that win over Denver last night. And I think that's honestly just, this cements his legacy as already probably an all-time great Thunder player. If SGA can somehow win the MVP, win the finals, and finals MVP in the same season, he will already cement himself as a top 3 Thunder player ever, behind Westbrook and KD. We're not talking the Sonics, Supersonics. We're talking OKC Thunder. Sonics, they're not OKC. Yeah, they moved, but we're not talking. It's a whole different team. It's a whole different team. So yeah, he's a top 3 Thunder player ever. The merger, with OKC and Supersonics, he probably like a top 5. He's still that good, but he's still that good of a player. So maybe top 5, but who knows? But this is just, like I said, it's gonna be this series to watch. These teams are so evenly matched. Ant versus SGA. You have DiVincenzo probably on Jalen Williams. Obviously Julius Randle probably on Chet. I'd assume probably Chet, and big on big Hartenstein versus whoever big they got in the game, whether it be like Naz Reid or whoever it is. It's just gonna be a great matchup. This matchup is literally the perfect. This is a comparison to Denver versus the Clippers in the first series. I thought that matchup was perfect. Very evenly matched, and I think this matchup is very evenly matched as well. Both these teams are both just so like high caliber and player talent that it's gonna be a perfect matchup for either team, and that's why I really can't decide who to take in this series. I think it'll go to Game 7, but who will it be? Who do I want to win? I do kind of want to see, I wanted to see Denver. I really wanted to see Denver in the spot, but with them being gone, I kind of want to see, the Timberwolves get some success. I think. I'm yawning way too much today. But, who knows? I think the Timberwolves will come out on top, but like I said, it's so close to tell. I really don't know who it's going to be. But I do want the Timberwolves to come out on top. I just like them, I'm not a fan of them, but I like them more than Thunder. I just do. So, yeah. That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're sticking with the NBA. We're talking about the future of the Denver Nuggets, what they're going to do in the offseason, make some moves. So we'll get to that after the break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamper. First 2 segments, we talked NBA. NBA final, the playoffs have, not over yet, but they're getting close. We talked about, the semis recap, talked about, who won from each conference and, who's in the Western and the Eastern Conference Finals. Last segment, we talked about, the matchups in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, previewed that. This segment number 3, we're talking about what's next for the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets have, had good success, recently. 2023, obviously they won an NBA championship. But, times change. I still get why I'm going. I really do. Like, I'm not tired. Who knows? But they have had, success as of recent. A lot of success. And, they really need to figure out what they're going to do next year. Because they need to build a legitimate contending team. They won 2023, they didn't skate by. That's not for sure. That's for sure. They're the very competitive Western Conference. But the NBA Finals, they just got, they played, and, Jimmy Butler and the Heat, who were an 8 seed. That was pretty lucky for them. But still, they are a very good team, but they still just can't get it done. They were first round exits last year, or second. I forgot exactly what their first, second. But this year, second round exits. And they're a great team. And one thing you cannot do is waste this prime of Nikola Jokic. They absolutely cannot. Nikola Jokic right now is playing like a top 3, top 5 center all time. He is that good. And this series, he slowed down. He really did. Because OKC figured out, okay, we stop Jokic, we win games. Because the Nuggets are a good team with Jokic. Without Jokic, they're really nothing. Without Jokic, they are a very mediocre, maybe a play-in team. And that's really just the truth. It really is. He obviously got Jamal Murray, great shooter. But then he got guys like Michael Porter Jr., inconsistent, can't play consistently. Aaron Gordon, can't play consistently. Christian Braun. These teams are just very inconsistent. They really are. And so they got to make, some offseason moves and figure out, what's next for them in the future. So they need, obviously, some shooting. They really do. They need some, good shooting, to some solid, legit shooters. And, if you watch the playoff games, you know that. Obviously you said Jamal Murray, but you cannot rely on him to be your only shooter. Aaron Gordon had some good games, Braun had some good games, but you need at least 2 or 3 very, very consistent shooters who are out there giving you at least 20 points a night. And, if you watch the playoffs game this year, if you watch them play, you would see that it's a must need. They were obviously very lacking this year in the shooting department in the playoffs, and they need a legit shooter. So they also need a 6-man. They really don't have a legit 6-man off the bench, and one guy they could go get and free him from the depths of Utah. I think Jordan Clarkson would be a good pickup for Denver to get. They really, Utah's rebuilding, and they need just players they can trade for other players or draft picks. And I think if Denver trades for, a legit 6-man, they can be legit contenders. And I think that trading for, Clarkson would be, a really good opportunity for them to succeed. I really do. So who could they, obviously they got a lot of young stars. Zeke Ninja, I can't say his last name. It's something, European. Dario Saric, another, European guy. A really good guy they have, a really good defender, really young guy. Peyton Watson, really good defender for the Nuggets. But, they can trade, some of these young players, I don't want to say stars, but young players for, a more, a tenured, another tenured 6-man. He'd be a great 6-man for them. Come off the bench behind, get the starting 5 of, Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Porter Jr., if they don't, which they probably should trade, and Christian Braun. But then get Jordan Clarkson to back him up off the bench. You could also, go for an all-in for another superstar. One guy who could come to mind, maybe Kawhi Leonard. He's ending he's, even at his age, he's still playing great. And the Clippers utilized, resting him a lot this year. He would never play in back-to-back games. He was always resting when he was, they were keeping him healthy for playoffs and, just the whole season. Sorry, I just heard a thud in my downstairs somewhere. I got a little nervous. But, they could trade for, Kawhi Leonard. They could have to give up a big-time player, Michael Porter Jr. is obviously a player I think of. He's a young player, but he's just got a lot to work on. He really, he's a shooter, but when you're not shooting well, he's not really a good defender, and so they have the people to give up. So Michael Porter Jr.'s got to come to mind, and maybe some picks as well. They have picks. They got to give them. You got to get for a guy like Kawhi. you're going to need to give Clippers some picks, first round picks. So give, Michael Porter Jr. probably another guy or two and probably some first round picks and go for, a superstar. That'd be a great starting five. Murray, Gordon, Braun, Kawhi, and Joker. That's a great starting five. That is a phenomenal starting five to have. It really is. Sign, get some free agency guys. I think you absolutely signed Russ again to just a 1-year deal. Russ has, obviously, he's weird because, all-time great player, but he had a lot of turnovers. He was causing some very questionable plays, some questionable, decisions during the playoffs that were costing the Nuggets a lot of points. They had a lot of turnovers because of him. But I think you re-sign him for another 1-year deal. One guy's in the free agent this year, Moritz Wagner, a center for the Magic. I think you sign him, 1-year deal, get a really good backup behind Jokic. He's a great player for Orlando, played great, and he's great. Obviously, college doesn't matter anymore. Another thud. Someone's dropping something downstairs. I'm not sure what it is, but Moritz Wagner is a great player for Orlando. Sign him. Maybe get Larry Nance Jr. for also a 1-year deal. I mean, sign all these guys to quick 1-year deals and see back up Jokic. That's basically Larry Nance, put him at center / power forward, and then Moritz at center. Power forward Larry Nance, and then put Moritz at center. That'd be a good. That's a good deep 2 rotation. I think it's pretty good. Russ, backup. Imagine that. Backup starting. Your next 5 up, Jordan Clarkson, possibly, and then you got Westbrook, Moritz, Larry Nance, and probably someone else. I'm not sure who exactly, but maybe, if they don't trade him, maybe Peyton Watson, maybe. But, so you need a lot. This Nuggets team really needs a lot. They really do. So I really do believe that their key to succeeding this offseason, I think trading Michael Porter Jr. is, a thing they must do. I think it's a must. He's a young player with a lot of upside and a lot of potential. But I think trading him is your key to, becoming a legit contender again. I think it is. And, getting Kawhi, that would be huge. He's kind of, like I said, ending his career, but he's still a great player. If you watched him play this year in the playoffs, whatever, you saw how good of a player he was. And the Clippers, their medical team, they knew how to, I guess, play with him. Don't mean it like that. But, just kind of play around his medical issues. Let him rest, all of that. And, this Nuggets team has all the talent in the world, with all these trades I just mentioned, have all the talent in the world to become a legit contending team. So the matter is going and getting the offseason, signing people. I think signing Moritz Wagner is a huge trade, huge, accomplishment they could get, getting him back up center for Jokic. Moritz is a great player. Like I said, he's a great player for the Magic. Russ, that'd be another. Get him his ring. If they can make these trades happen, get Kawhi, sign Moritz, Larry Nance, re-sign Russ again, maybe get Jordan Clarkson or another, a good all-star player, high caliber player for, a 6-man off your bench. That could get Russ his ring and get the Denver Nuggets back to, to the top of the world next year. It's possible. At this point, it's just a matter of can the head office do it, which I think they can. It's just a matter of, they got a lot to work on. Firing their head coach too was definitely not the right decision. Fired him with a week before playoffs, and I thought it was a really interesting choice. But hey, I'm not the GM, so the GM's gone too. They clean house, but if they never fired their head coach, if Michael Malone was still there, I think they could have won last night. Maybe could have done better in their series, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? Firing their head coach that late in the season with only 1 week till playoffs, very questionable decision. It really was. So if they never fired him, who knows? But yeah, like I said, the Nuggets got a lot to work on this offseason. A lot of free agency options out there, some trade deadline possibilities. Matter of time, folks. It's always a matter of time until we know. That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're talking golf, actually. We're going to talk about Scottie Scheffler. He wins another title. So we'll talk about that after the break.
feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First two segments, talked NBA, talked about, the playoffs, who's in the Western Eastern Conference Finals now, previewed those series, talked about who thinks going to win. Last segment, we talked about the Denver Nuggets, what's next for them, what's the future for them. This segment, number 4, we're talking a little golf. We're changing it up, it's mostly, MLB, NBA, NFL. We talked some PGA a little while ago, talked about the Masters, but we're going back to it. We're talking about the Masters. And Scottie Scheffler has won his 3rd major in the past few years with a win on the PGA Tour. He has a PGA Championship under his belt now, which I think, is great for him. I think it's, there's a reason he's the number 1 player in the world right now. He's a great player. He really is. And there is a reason that he is, why this weekend, he has proven to the world why he is the number 1 golf player in the world. He really is. And they were playing, like I said, PGA Championship. One of the biggest tournaments in the world. You got obviously the Masters, you got some other, and then the Masters, the PGA Championship is probably the most important, championship to win besides the Masters. It really is. It kind of just shows, how good of a player you are. The best players in the world are there, and it's just a big time. They're playing really nice course, Quill Hollow in North Carolina. Great course to play at, really nice. And he was paired against a former Masters winner himself. Jon Rahm. He won it a few years ago, and Scheffler. Well, he's also a 2-time Master winner, so he knows what it's like, to be in that spot. He does. So, I'm not saying Jon Rahm's a great player though, but Scheffler absolutely dominated. He won by about 5 strokes. I think he finished 11 under, while the man in second place, the guy who finished second, finished, I believe it was 6 strokes under. So he had a 5-stroke lead going in. He had a 6-stroke lead going into the 18th, and he could have quad bogeyed and still would have won by like 2 strokes, which is kind of insane. But Jon Rahm has now been the number 1 player in the world, like the number 1 player in the world for about how many weeks in a row? I think it's like 180, I believe, which is nuts. Or maybe it's something like that. It's up there. He has a lot. But I was looking at this, the chart yesterday for that, the number 1 player in the world. And Tiger Woods, I was looking at that. Tiger Woods is the best player in the world for 600 straight weeks. That's insane. I just saw off topic of that. I just saw how insane that is. He's the number 1 player in the world for 600 straight weeks. That's nuts to think about, in my opinion. But, it's just how good of a player he was. But back to Scottie Scheffler, Scheffler, he's just dominant. He really is. He's really just a dominant player. And he's really calm and collected, too. So, after, yesterday, on the 18th hole, up 6 strokes, he really could have, just taken it easy, play. Obviously, he wants to be done. He's already done. So he gets in the green, he drives, chips on green. He two putts, and he bogeyed. It was a par 4. It was a par 3, I believe. But he two putts to, get bogey, 1 under, loses the strokes, so 11 under. And one thing about Scheffler, he's a very calm and collected man. He really is. He doesn't show a lot of emotion on the golf course. He really doesn't. But yesterday for him, he kind of just let it go. He let him, he was happy to win. He showed emotion. He slammed his hat in the ground. And he, obviously, when you win a big tournament, a lot of people will go straight to their family, and that's exactly what he did. He went to go find his wife and his pretty newborn son. I'm pretty sure his son's 1, maybe a little older, but I thought it was really cute. The mom and the kid, there's there with his parents. It was awesome. I thought it was really cool when you're listening. I was watching it, and the dad said, "Thank you for never giving up Scotty Scheffler." I thought that was awesome. It was kind of in the background, but you can hear his dad saying that, "Thank you for never giving up Scotty Scheffler." I thought that was really beautiful. Scheffler has had, some incidents. Obviously, last year, PGA tournament, he got arrested. I thought, this was the tournament last year. Different location, same tournament, he got arrested. He had a pretty shaky weekend as well. And a few passing tournaments as well. He's throwing his clubs. He's looked a little grumpy here and there. And he's had kind of, this is a big turn for him. And, his dad saying that to him, really kind of probably reminded him, I'm here for a reason, And he really is just that good of a player. Like I said, he's the number 1 player in the world for weeks on end now. I'm not sure exactly how, close. I'm not sure exactly how long. I think it's 180. Maybe it was 300. I'm not sure. No, it was 180. It was 180. 180 weeks, number 1 player in the world. And, it just kind of shows how dominant he is. And in those 180 weeks, he has won 3 major titles. And like I said, 2 Masters 3 majors. Sorry, he's won 3 majors. 3 majors. He's won 2 Masters and this recent PGA Championship. And one thing that's kind of crazy, every time he's won, he said that each time he's won, he hasn't said that he has won by 3 or more strokes, 3 or more shots, strokes, whatever you want to call them. It's just domination, really is. He's never going to these overtime, these shootouts or whatever. He's winning by multiple strokes, and he's never had to, worry about it. Worry about, having to blow the hole away. He's just that good of a player. He doesn't have to worry about it. He's winning by 3 or more strokes or shots each time he's won, and he's never had to worry about that, which is honestly insane. So, and he has won, he has joined elite company. He has joined Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as the only players to win 15 times, tournaments or whatever, including 3 majors, PGA Championship, Masters, any big time championship, before the age of 29, which is insane. It just kind of puts him in elite category. Tiger Woods, greatest golfer ever. Jack Nicklaus, probably the second greatest golfer ever. The consistency, the dominance he's put on, really the stuff he's adding to his resume, it's insane. He has done so much these past few years, just domination all year round. Domination here, domination there. He has not slowed down, and I really don't think that he will anytime soon. I think he still has, all the momentum that he needs, all the, he's just playing great. He really is. He's just that good of a player, and that's really all I could say. He's just dominated the past few years, and winning 3 majors before the age of 29, and winning 15 times any tournament, any championship, domination. So, hats off to Scotty. Played great, is doing great, and I'm really only hoping the best for him because he really is a good guy. He's a great golfer, an even better dude. Seeing Scotty succeed is great. It really is. Seeing Scotty succeed is great for, in my opinion, the world of golf because, seeing these young guys do good is always great to see. I love seeing these guys do good. So, yeah, hats off to Scotty. He deserved it. Played a great weekend, and Hopefully only more good things to come. That's all I got for this segment. Next segment and the final segment, we're talking about NFL, Brock Purdy and the Niners, future for them. So we'll get to that after the break. Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jambry. Today we covered mostly NBA, talked some golf a minute ago. In this segment number 5, we're talking some NFL. And not only NFL, Brock Purdy's extension, and what that could mean for the 49ers. So, over the weekend, Brock Purdy was just extended by the Niners. He had a 5-year, $260 million contract extension with $180 million guaranteed within the first 3 seasons. So basically, it's honestly like a 3-year deal. A 3-year, $180 million contract, which is, still pretty good. But when I first saw that, I really didn't think that was a good trade. I really didn't. I think he's overrated, and I think that was an overpay. But still, I think he's a system quarterback. I really do. I think that if he were to be drafted anywhere else by any other team, I'm not hating on him. I don't not like Brock Purdy. I like him. He's a good quarterback. I just think, I just don't think he deserves that pay. I really don't. But besides that, I just, I didn't think he deserved that. But I think he's system quarterback. I really do. I think he, is only good because of the system that he was put into and put around. I really do. I think that he's just, when he came in, surrounded by all Pro Bowl talent, though, he had Deebo Samuel, Kittle, CMC, Ayuk. Granted, he only lost Deebo Samuel, but, he hasn't really had as much success recently, with CMC being out, Kittle being out with injury, Ayuk being also out with injury, not playing, holding out, whatever he likes to do. And, Jawan Jennings has stepped up. Shout out Jawan Jennings. And he's played great for the Niners this past season. But, seeing that extension was very, I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. I really didn't believe that he deserved that extension. Maybe I think he deserved the extension, but not the pay that was added to it. I don't think he was worth the $260. I don't think he's, just that good. I really don't think he's that good of a quarterback. I really don't. If he were put in any other team, if he was put on a team with, let's say, I said it earlier. I brought it up in our meeting earlier. I said if he was put onto the Packers, he would be already benched or onto the league or just wandering around. I think he wouldn't be successful because I just don't think, like I said, I just don't think he's a good quarterback. He just had so many weapons around him, and he just, lucky for him though, he fit into the system that the Niners played. In college, he was at Iowa State. He had a very good, the system they ran there, Iowa State fit him perfectly. A lot of tight end options, they like going for their tight ends at Iowa State. And I know, Iowa does too, but Iowa State likes tight ends or receivers as well. Every team does, but they like tight ends a lot. And, luckily for him, he's got a top 3 tight end, maybe like a top 5. And George Kittle, he's had great weapons. Like I said, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, CMC. And, even with those guys, he's still like never won, Super Bowl, which is very surprising because, you see that talent and you think, yeah, this guy could easily win it all. He's made it, he didn't win. He's lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship. He's lost to the Eagles. I mean, he just can't seem to win, the big games. He can't seem to win when it matters most. But, I can still see them, even with that being said, they can honestly probably win the NFC West this year. They really can. Cardinals are going to be Cardinals. I mean, they have some good players, but overall, like as a team, they're just, not insanely good. Even though, Cooper Kupp left LA, he's still in conference. He still just went to the Seahawks. And then, you got Devontae Adams going to LA. They found a replacement for him. He went to LA. I mean, they just replaced one elite receiver with another aging elite receiver. So, a lot of stuff going on over there. But they can honestly 100% win that division. They really can. I think it'll be probably the Niners, then Rams, then Seahawks, then Cardinals, like it has been the past few years. Maybe, the Rams and Seahawks flip, but who knows. But, it's just going to be weird. I still really don't think Brock Purdy is worth it, but the talent around him is so good, it makes him look good. I mean, they got so much talent over there in San Fran. The problem is, can they stay healthy? Last year, they were hurt a lot. They were injured a lot. CMC was out he came back by week 10, and he got hurt pretty fast into that season. I think he played 2 or 3 weeks. He got injured again, or just sat out. I forgot which one exactly was. I'm pretty sure it was injury though. And then you had Kittle. He was hurt. Deebo Samuel, he was gone. Brandon Ayuk injured / holding out. Jawan Jennings was kind of their big guy in the backfield. You got some good backups. You got Ricky Pearsall. You got Ronnie Bell, underrated receiver for them. But, they don't have, when they're not playing, you can see Brock Purdy's stats start to fall. Because, granted, every quarterback who has elite players around them are going to succeed. But you can see his drop drastically. You really can. His stats drop a lot when they're not with him. He doesn't have these elite players with him. And granted, like I said, a lot of quarterback stats are going to drop like that when you lose big-time players like that. But for him, it's just different. Because like I said, this segment's about his extension and whether he deserves it. And if you see the stats drop when his players are injured, when his key players are injured, you see his stats drop a lot. And I really don't think that, that he kind of deserved the extension that he did. I think I saw an extension coming. I didn't think it was going to be, a 5-year 260. I thought it was going to be a 3 or 4 year 200. I could see that. A 4-year $200 million, maybe a 3-year 190, 200. I could see that. I just didn't think I'd see a 5-year one because his first deal was 3 years, $4.7 million, and now he's making what he made. I think now what I heard it was he's making now what he made in a month in a week now with this new contract. So I mean, shout out to him. He got the big contract extension. Shout out to him. Congrats to him. But I still I'm very surprised that they made this extension as big as it was. I don't think he deserved it as much as people saying he does. But he fits the system well. He fits the system. Sorry, he fits the system really well. He's a system quarterback in my opinion. But the system that he's a part of was kind of built around him, built around his talents, and so I can't really say that, but I kind of can. They built it around getting guys that would make him succeed. So I mean, I guess you can say he deserves it. I guess you can say he doesn't. Kind of up to you. But I still don't think he does deserve it. I think, should have been a smaller extension for less pay. But, hey, who am I to say? I'm just the guy talking about sports, and I'm not, the Niners organization. So, in my opinion, though, I don't think he deserves it. But maybe it'll work out for him. Maybe, the extension was something they needed. Maybe he'll, come out next year, just dominate. Who knows? That's just what I think. But, like I said, like I always say, only time will tell. So who knows? That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. Your continuous support means the world to us, so please feel free to like, comment, share with anybody you know. If you wish to stay up to date with all things GSMC, make sure to follow us on social media, with that being, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter/X, whatever. Just get on social media, search GSMC Sports Podcast, and hit with a follow, and turn on post notifications so you know when we're uploading. But like I said, thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Have a good one.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to